Hello, my name's Ethan Gallmeyer, and for my informative speech, I'm going to be presenting on a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, which is the topic of computational neuroscience. The goal of this speech will be to serve as a sort of introduction into the subfield of neuroscience. And with all of that being said, let's begin. I believe I can best convey to you the definition of computational neuroscience by explaining the story behind this picture. This is a picture I'm sure many of you are familiar of, whether in passing, seeing it on a magazine, in a textbook, or even just on a poster. Because obviously, besides many of the aesthetic qualities that it presents us, the story behind it is actually kind of amazing. This is actually an attempt at what people in the neuroscience community call the connectome. The connectome is an attempt to accurately model all of the neural pathways and the connections between those pathways in the human brain, which in essence is computational neuroscience and what we're trying to do as a community. Computational neuroscience takes tools from mathematics, computer science, and classical neuroscience and attempts to make highly accurate models of the brain. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is something that I'm sure all of you are thinking of. When you get that definition, you think, well, that's all fine and dandy, and that seems like a very noble pursuit, but what does that do for us as a civilization? What does that do for us as a group? And the answer is actually a multitude of things, starting first in the medical field. Computational neuroscience presents us with an astounding amount of possible medical advancement, and that starts with diagnosis, early diagnosis, and things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and even CTE, which is a degenerative brain disorder, which as of now is only able to be diagnosed in an autopsy, which isn't the most efficient way of getting a diagnosis. Not only is it going to help us with early detection, it's going to help us with more accurate detection and diagnosis. By creating these highly advanced models, you're going to be able to get a deeper look inside the brain. The next advancement that it's going to present us with is advancements in AI and machine learning. There's kind of this actually beautiful reciprocal relationship between computational neuroscience and computer science. By getting a better understanding of the brain, we're actually able to come up with better ways for programming the machines that we use to map the human brain, which in turn makes for better computers and better technology. And last, but certainly not least, we're talking about better phones here, or better computers and all, I should say. But something that I think a lot of people would benefit from and see in their daily lives is an advancement in phones. And you're going to see this through computational neuroscience help in advancing artificial intelligence, which, as you know, I'm sure all of you have Siri, and who wouldn't want a slightly more accurate, more helpful version of Siri? And that's something that this could actually help us with. And when we're talking about these advancements, it seems almost far-fetched. It seems too good to be true, which is something that this field has gotten a lot of pushback for, actually. And I understand that. It's got a plethora of possible advancements in civilization. And so one of the questions is, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to make this follow through? And that comes down to something that a lot of things are dependent on, which is money and government funding and subsidies, and also more push in the community to get more funding to this field. And if we can present this field with enough money, then you're going to start seeing those advancements. And when are you going to start seeing those advancements? Well, it's a relatively new field, so it's going to still be some time, but it's not going to be as long as if, we kind of had to grind it out in these more rogue renegade groups, which while it has come a long way, it's still kind of in those like more makeshift groups. Um, and now next, what I wanted to talk about is a question and kind of a counterpoint that a lot of people want to bring up when they hear about this. They go, "Oh, if this is so important and this can present us with so many advancements, how come I've never heard of this field before?" And that kind of makes me want to touch back on what I just mentioned earlier. Is it's a relatively new field. The term computational neuroscience wasn't even coined until 1985 by a professor at the California Institute of Technology. And while you might think like, oh, 35 years, that's a relatively long time, not really when you compare it to other fields like physics or chemistry and mathematics, which have groundings in research since, literally the Egyptians. So with that being said, I hope I introduced you to the field of computational neuroscience, and I hope I piqued your interest. Thank you very much for your time.